Have you ever wondered how you can unlock new opportunities and knowledge that can truly change your journey as an African immigrant? Then, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AIM Expert series, where we bring you insightful sessions, packed with practical strategies from top experts on topics that matter most to you. So, if you're looking to grow your career or understand the US system, then grab a chair and don't go anywhere. Now, let's get started on today's session.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Masterclass series. It's good to see every one of us. We weren't on last week, following the advocacy conference. So it's good to be back. And I think maybe we're easing our way back into taking the week off after the conference. So it's good to be back. It's good to have Madam Dolly back as well, giving us some what's hot and what's not, especially with the year wrapping up and everyone making plans for the new year. So I'm excited about this session. As always, the standard disclaimers. Please let's use the chat if anybody has any questions, and should be able to answer them at the end of the presentation. And just a disclaimer again, our experts and AIM, this is a product of experience, sharing from her knowledge base, not expert advice. So don't sue us for you do what you please with the information. It's just it's experience. But we believe in everybody who's coming here and sharing. So the value is immense. We've always been fortunate. We've been fortunate with Madame Dolly. She's given us some good hacks every time she's come. It's been excellent. I'm excited about what she has for us today. So with that said, I will pass the baton to Madam Dolly Dabiri to take it away.
Hey, hello everybody. Will I be able to share my screen this time or no need?
Yes, you will. Let me allow sharing. It's annoying doing this from the phone.
Oh.
Or I will.
Never mind. I could just talk. Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about how to win in today's real estate market. The reason for that is I know there's a lot of uncertainty. You're hearing all sorts of things in the news about, foreclosures are coming. Maybe there's a market crash and all sorts of things. So let me reintroduce myself. My name is Dolly Dabiri, but my friends call me Dolly since I was a child. I actually had somebody challenge me recently and tell me, why am I calling myself Dolly? Because I'm in America, but I've actually been called Dolly since I was a baby. And now today I want us to just know a little bit more about how to identify the best way to take advantage of whatever situation you're in when it comes to real estate. Real estate is my passion. I love it so much, and I'm always happy to talk about it. So thank you so much for giving me another opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge. I want to start by talking about when I first came to this country. I remember we moved here like finally in 2013. And I remember the first night somebody had already invited us to come for the housewarming, which was happening the next day. I believe we arrived on maybe a Friday, and then they were having a housewarming for this beautiful house in south of Atlanta that they had just bought. And I remember that the house was about $85,000. And I went there and it was this beautiful home and it had this large yard in front of it. It had space at the back. It had I think it was a 4-bedroom house. The kitchen was lovely, it was spacious. And all I could think at the time was 85,000. And at the time, I think the exchange rate was maybe around 180 to Naira. And I quickly did the math and I was like, man, that means houses in America are so cheap. Wow, when I'm going to buy a house in America, it's even going to be cheaper than the houses in Nigeria. Okay, fantastic. I didn't realize that at the time we were in the middle of a market crash, the housing crash. That was the tail end of the housing crash. If I had known at the time, I feel like my life would have taken a totally different trajectory. I didn't realize it. And now today, that same house is worth about 300 and something thousand. So there's always power in real estate, no matter what, the market is saying. One of the things that usually stands in the way of people investing in real estate is usually like the money. But then the second thing is time, the timing of the market. If you don't know how the market works, that's when you're going to have a bad experience. But if you understand the market, you understand market conditions, then you can make more informed decisions. All right. So today I want to just try and help you so that you can understand the things to look out for and how to, make those kind of decisions. Now, I know that when you're thinking about real estate, a lot of people are only thinking about their personal home. That's what most of us are thinking. Oh, real estate, your home. But as immigrants, I think that real estate is one of the best ways for us to, have get an advantage in this country that we found ourselves in. The quickest way for us to kind of set ourselves to catapult ourselves forward because we don't have as long of a history in this country as the people that were actually born here. So let's try and dive into market conditions, right? Because you need to know what is going to impact your investment into whatever houses or whatever real estate that you're buying. You have the economic factors, of course. Everybody's very well aware of like interest rates. When once you scroll on the news, anything you're talking about, employment rates, GDP, all these things are economic factors. I'll explain like how interest rates make a difference. The interest rates are dictated by by the federal government, right? So you can't just decide whatever interest rate you want. If you remember, during COVID, after everybody had stayed at home for a while, and everybody had saved some money up because they weren't going out, eating out as much as they were before. They weren't paying for daycare. If you remember, the government was trying to stimulate activity, and so they brought the interest rates down. A lot of people were able to buy homes then at 3% or even less than 3%. Even the people that were not buying homes, they were refinancing their homes. At that time, the economic factors were so favorable that it was crazy for you not to take advantage of it, right? So this shows you how the economic factors really play a pivotal role in shaping what the real estate landscape is going to look like. Now, employment rates are also very, very important because when people have a sense of security, that is when they can say, let me buy a home. Let me move from here to there. Oh my God, my dog. Let me move to another place and all that. So sorry about that. I have a noisy house. Hold on 1 second. I was trying to see if I could get one of my kids to get the dog. Anyway. Sorry, guys. So basically, where was I? So I was talking about employment rates, right? So once there's uncertainty in employment, it's going to affect the real estate market. Right now, because of all the layoffs, because people are just hearing, even people that haven't lost their jobs are nervous about losing their jobs. Once there's nervous behavior in the market, right? People are not going to invest as much in real estate. You're not going to have people thinking about even moving. Even renters are like, man, let me just stay here because I don't know what's going to happen. And then, of course, the GDP the GDP rate is also something that affects the overall economic performance of the region. So all these are the economic factors that tend to affect real estate. Real estate is something that you kind of have market indicators that are going to explain to you or kind of give you a hint of what is happening. There's simple things that we all know about. We all know about supply and demand. Once you know that it seems like a lot of houses are up for sale, a lot of property is up for sale, you know that, okay, that seems like there's a lot of supply. If people are snatching up those properties so quickly, and you'd have fewer houses are going off the market really, really quickly, right? That's talking about like the days on the market. As soon as the house comes on the market, somebody has taken it off. Then you know that, okay, the market is really healthy, everything is doing well. But sometimes you can see, wow, they put this home for sale, and the home has been on for sale for a year, 6 months, 3 months. What's going on? Once you start seeing that homes have been on the market for a very long time, then you should start looking at it and thinking, okay, what's really going on here? Today, the market is such that a lot of homes that are listed are sitting on the market for a very long time. If you compare it to 2021, 2022, when houses were flying off the shelf, as a realtor at the time, if you had a client, you were writing offers over and over and over and over for the same client. We were working so hard because as soon as you put an offer on a property that comes out, what happens? They tell you there are 15 other offers. And then so people were bidding high and bidding, that kind of thing. Right now is not the same. Right now is the advantage more for people who are trying to buy, not people who are trying to sell. Then you also have to look at of course, inventory levels, which is about the number of properties available, as I said, the supply and demand, and then the days of the market. Those are the market indicators that are going to give you some insight as to what is happening in your, in the country. Another thing that is important to understand is that real estate should not only be considered on the country scale. Sometimes the local market dynamics is very different. So the housing market might be doing really well in Atlanta, but it might be doing terribly in Texas or even in Florida or wherever, So the local market dynamics is something that you really need to also look at because those factors also influence your property values. So we're talking about like the neighborhood trends, what development projects are coming, demographic shifts. For instance, for Georgia, something I really love about us over here in Georgia is that it's more of an incoming state. You have people coming from, California, coming from New York, coming to settle in Georgia, right? As opposed to some states where they're having people fleeing their states, right? A lot of people are leaving. So the fact that Georgia has people that are coming in is kind of helpful for us as well. So those demographic shifts are some numbers that it's a good idea to look at. And those trends on, okay, what is happening in the city? What is happening in your locality? Are they, adding more buildings? Are you seeing that there's a lot of buildings being done? That kind of gives you an idea of what trends are happening. What projects are they bringing in? For instance, right now, people keep on talking about the World Cup. The World Cup is coming next year. So that is going to bring with it, extra people. Some people will not leave. So, you have to look at those local market dynamics in order to make some decisions. Fundamentally, what you're trying to get when you understand these factors that I've talked about is you're really just trying to recognize, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? And I want to explain the difference. A buyer's market, just think of it as it is such where the buyer is the one at the advantage. And a seller's market is the one where the seller is an advantage, right? So in the buyer's market, you know that there is so much inventory and there are not enough people that are trying to buy. We're going back to the laws of supply and demand. There are not a lot of. So in that kind of market, the buyer calls the shots. The buyer is the one that is going to be like, oh yeah, you said your house is 200,000. You know what? I want to pay 180, right? That's the buyer's market. The seller's market is one where the seller is the one that's an advantage because there are not that many houses for sale. And The seller is the one that can tell you, yeah, I have multiple offers. There's so many people that want my property. And so, you have to do what I say. I'm not gonna help you with any closing costs, or I'm not going to, clean up the house. The seller is the one that's calling the shots. All right. So I will tell you for nothing that right now we are in a buyer's market, because the offers that I've been writing nowadays, like, the sellers are cooperating very, very much because their homes have been on the market for longer than they had anticipated. And we're seeing price drops, right? I sometimes, if I look at it and the house has been on the market for longer than 100 days, then I start throwing, some lowball numbers at them. So that's why I say it's all about recognizing the market and timing it to see, where it is that you have an advantage right now. So in order for you to capitalize on on the buyer's market, you have to identify whether there are bargain opportunities, right? You also have to figure out proper negotiation strategies, right? Sometimes you might be upfront with telling the seller what you want them to do for you. Sometimes you might realize that, you know what, maybe I don't need to reduce the price. Maybe what I need is to have the seller pay for some things for me. Maybe what I need is to have more favorable closing timeline, so you have to think about what negotiation strategies are going to work for you. And then you have different financing options as well in a buyer's market. You might be able to even take over the low interest mortgage of a seller. There's so many things in the financing space that could be of advantage to you that people are more open to doing when we're in a buyer's market. And then in the buyer's market, there are hardly any bidding wars, and so you're not having to compete against too many people. But something that I would say is that when you're in a buyer's market where there's so much inventory, it's really a good idea to try and find hidden gems. Because the pricing is funny, you might be able to find something for such a good price, and it has a kind of value. Maybe it has like a bigger lot than the next one, right? But you can now argue for it to be priced, at the price that you'd have bought one that had a smaller lot, things like that. So identifying hidden gems and things are ways of capitalizing on a buyer's market. If you're a seller though, and you're trying to maximize profit in the seller's market, you're going to be thinking about how to make sure that you set the asking price right. There are different ways of pricing. A lot of the time people think, oh, let me, price my house as high as I possibly can, so that I can get the most. But oftentimes that's not the right way for you to price. Everybody is looking for a deal. So getting the right price and making it just a little bit lower than what you think people will think that property is worth will inspire, competition, and probably even get you more than you had thought that you were going to get in the first place. So of course, in a seller's market, for you to maximize profit, you have to be cautious. When there are bidding wars, you have to have effective marketing techniques, negotiation tactics, and those kind of things. Now, for us, everybody, what I love about real estate is that everybody kind of has their own individual goals. You might have short-term goals, or you might have long-term goals, right? Your strategies might be short-term or long-term. So, like, for instance, the different ways you could be somebody that is interested in flipping properties. Flipping properties, I hope we all understand, is you buy a property for low, you fix it up, and then you sell it. Now, that I will consider to be a short-term investment strategy, because you're rolling over really quickly, right? You're just trying to get your profit from the sale of that property. But I would consider something like, buying a rental, right? Maybe you buy a rental and then you hold it. You have a tenant in there and you have it for, 5, 10, 20 years. Then that is more like a long-term strategy where you're trying to, take advantage of the fact that maybe in 10 years' time, the value of that property is going to be a lot higher. And then you'll be able to sell the property. So there are other ways that people also, other things that you can do for like long-term investment strategies, such as like maybe you're buying and holding maybe land, maybe buying multifamilies, doing something that we call house hacking. Maybe you're buying a property for yourself and then you're renting part of it out so that you're generating. I think I had a whole talk about that the last time about house hacking. Other short-term ones, kind of like flipping, that I come to mind are things like wholesaling. Wholesaling is a situation where you meet people who are probably underwater on their house, or maybe they're having a problem with selling it the traditional way, and then you go and look for a buyer for them, and then you make money in the middle. So wholesaling is another way that some people are able to make some income without in the short term, as their short-term investment strategies. So there are different ways that you can take advantage of the market, but I will give you what I think is doing really well right now. I've worked with a lot of first-time home buyers. I also work with a lot of investors. Those are the two people that I tend to work with a lot. And I'll tell you that right now, for my home buyers, right, this is a great time if you have what it takes to get the loan. As long as you can qualify a loan for a loan and you can afford that mortgage, it is a good time for a home buyer. Because I had a closing last week where we got about 30,000 off the purchase price for a home in Lawrenceville. And in addition to that, they still gave us $10,000 to help in the closing costs. And in addition to that, they did all the fixes that we wanted them to do in the house, right? So for a home buyer, if you're a buyer in today's market, it's great. So if you're an investor, right, especially somebody who you want something hands off, you have your job, you don't want anything stressing you, you just want to be a traditional landlord. Personally, I think this is a great time because you have a lot of great properties that are just sitting and you can call any price that you want for them. You can make as many offers that you want, call any price that you want, get, if you can even get something that already has a tenant inside, it's even better, right? So long-term investment strategies, if you can hold right now, is a good idea. Now, I also have my investors who they were kind of flipping before, but if you're the kind of person that you can flip, but you won't mind holding the home for some time, they are doing things like they buy the property for really, really low. They are able to fix that property and then they're able to refinance the property. When they refinance the property, they can now, some of them are doing Airbnb to, to make sure that that mortgage is paid off and it's not, disturbing anybody. Some of them are doing traditional rents. There's some people doing medium-term rentals, right? Just to hold on to that property until we get back into a seller's market. So if you're the kind of person who, you have some money on the side that you can use to buy, this is a really good time to buy. If you're somebody who is trying to sell, this might not be the best time to sell. I would not recommend you selling right now because the market is kind of saturated with a lot of properties that are staying on the market for 100 days, 200 days, and that sort of thing. So if you have any questions, let me know. But all I'm trying to, explain to you guys is that timing the market is the most important thing that you can do if you're trying to win at this real estate game. There is no market that doesn't have its advantages. Even when there's a market crash, there's some people that are getting rich off it. If it's that at the time you now start going into foreclosures and buying that up, there is always a strategy that works. It is just understanding, are you in a buyer's market or are you in a seller's market? What is the best way you can take advantage of what is happening around you right now? And speak to your real estate professional, talk to people, try to recognize what the economic cycles are, try to understand what the strategies are, ask questions if you don't understand, and we can all win in this game together. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Madam Dolly. So I did put a question in the chat. You say it's we're in a seller's market, or is
No,
that okay? Buyer's market. Sorry.
we're in a buyer's market right now in Georgia, and I'm saying that
Okay.
because of the days on the market that are, a lot of homes are sitting on the market for a very long time, and you're seeing a lot of price reductions. So somebody has put their house at like maybe 400,000, they've already come down to 490, 480, they're just coming down, coming down, coming down. So we definitely are in a buyer's market right now.
All right, we have another question from Nigeria. It says, what are your thoughts on international real estate? So that's buying and selling back home from here.
So I think that right now, because of the exchange rate, right, the dollar has seems to have like a lot of buying power right now. So um if it's something that you're interested in, hey, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but um I have property in Nigeria. Um but okay, let me put it this way. If you have property in Nigeria, but you don't need the money, right? You just want to have some money in Nigeria, and you just want to just know you have a property in Nigeria, then go ahead. Because whatever you're going to get in the rent is not going to change your life when you convert the money back to bring it as dollars. So you can't do it as a way to maybe grow like,
Build
I don't know,
wealth.
to grow wealth. You know what I mean? You can do it because, when you go to Nigeria or when you go to Africa or wherever, you want a place to stay, you want something that you want to get some rent, generate some rent there that can take care of your needs domestically in that place. But if you're thinking that the money you're making from the real estate property is going to come and help you pay your mortgage in America, I'm very sorry, that's not going to happen. So that's just my own opinion on it. But a lot of people have really nice. I have a lot of friends that have really nice homes, over in Africa. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Like, it's not a bad thing.
All right. Anyone else have a question? You can feel free
I
to
think
come off
Teresa
mute.
has a question.
Yeah. Okay. Chichi has a hand up, and Teresa. So we'll
Okay.
do. Yeah, Chichi, you go first, and then Teresa, you go next.
Hi, and thanks for the conversation. I literally just came in 3 minutes ago, but I got a good bit of what you said and the responses to the questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a comment on what you just said about property. I attempted properties in Nigeria, Airbnbs, but honestly, it wasn't worth it. So if your goal is to just invest in Nigeria, fine. You have to just check your goal and find out investing in Nigeria to live a life here may not be worth it.
I agree with you. There's nothing. It's good, as immigrants, we always want to give back to our community. So you might be investing in Nigeria because you're trying to, you're trying to do something good for the community. But if you're investing in Nigeria because you want it to help you in America, then I don't think that is it. So if your goal is to at least add to where we're from, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But if your goal is that you want it to service your lifestyle over here, it's unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the second question, well, I have a first question actually. So, if you have a property here, interest rate was say 6.5 at the time it was bought, right? And this is like a business, what they call that, like a second property.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I get messages like it's time to refinance or something. You can save this amount of money in mortgages. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. The amount doesn't make sense. When is a good time to actually do the refinance, and what does it mean? What is the cost that's involved in refinancing?
Okay. So refinancing, people don't realize that it kind of like just restarts your clock, right? So maybe you've already held on to the home for, let's say, 10 years, right? So now your mortgage that you're owing on the house hopefully you have made a good dent on the mortgage, right? And you're getting to the in the way interest works, right? They're heavier in the interest rates in the front part of the mortgage. So your first 10, 11 years, you're paying more of the interest before you start getting into paying the principal, right? So you've now owned this home for 10 years, right? And then somebody is now coming to you and now saying, hey, you can just refinance because the balance of your mortgage is no longer 300,000, it's now 250,000. So now transfer this mortgage to our bank so you can start again. You're just restarting. So because it's only that balance, right? It's likely that your mortgage payment will go down, but you have extended the clock. So I feel refinances have helped in some situations. So let's say, like for instance, when the interest rates that I was talking about earlier during 2021, 2022 went all the way down, to sub 3. If your interest rate was 6% and the interest rate is now 3%, you'll be like, man. But for instance, my family, what we did was instead of refinancing the property to another 30-year mortgage, we were like, well, our mortgage payment is comfortable. We don't have a problem with the mortgage payment. So what we did was that we refinanced to a 15-year loan, and because it was 3%, the mortgage payment kind of stayed about the same. So I feel that time is more precious. So if you can save yourself on time, I wouldn't go for the refinance. There are strategies where the refinance works, but if somebody is just telling you, oh, you're going to get $200 off your mortgage and you can afford that mortgage, there's nothing wrong until this person called you and told you could save $200 on your mortgage, then just keep, paying your mortgage. But if you're in a bind, maybe you need to cash out some money or, then you can do it. If it's worth it, you can do it. And
Right.
then refinancing is also a strategy that is very, very well used by investors, right? You can force the appreciation of a property. And then because you force the appreciation of the property and the property is now valued much higher than what you bought it for, you can now go and refinance so that you can pull that equity out and maybe use it to go and buy another property. So you have to use all these things like tools to your own advantage. Just talk to a real estate professional to make sure that these people that are sending these messages, they're just advertising. They're just looking for anybody that's going to bite. It's not even as if they've done a real deep down dive into your particular matter. They're just like, oh, this person has had a mortgage for 10 years. Send this blast to all the people that have had a mortgage for more than 10 years. Somebody might call us, and then that's when they'll start looking and giving you the numbers. So even if the number they're telling you, oh, it's from 6% and we're now at 5%. If it's not making a significant difference to your life, or there's no way that the thing can actually give you more, like something tangible, then it's not worth it. There was a time that, no, not even a time, a couple of times people have called me because they want to sell their home, right? But they've been doing refinance like they refinance like every few years. And at the end of the day, somebody has owned this home for 20 years and they still owe the mortgage. And I'm like, oh my God, if you sell this house, you're not going to get anything. It's really unfortunate because every single time they refinance, they cash out. Every single time they refinance, they cash out. And then you've now ended up just having this property for 20 years. You've not managed to get the mortgage down. So there's really no profit that you can make.
And I imagine that refinancing is similar to like closing again.
Yes, but yes, it is. So what they do is that they will now add that money into that mortgage. So you won't come out of pocket, but all those fees will now be baked into your new mortgage.
Thank you, Dolly.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
All right, Teresa, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great session here. Yeah, with the conversation going on here, it's really just essentially understanding how credit works. In this, you're paying it or you are earning it. So if you're refinancing and you're not cutting down, taking advantage of that so you can pay off the loan, then there's no use for that. But on real estate, that's not, real estate, I'm in the financial aspect, but with real estate, it's where, so when somebody decides to get a property, would you advise that they get a land or get a property that's already built? So what's your take on that?
So I think the thing that I love the most about real estate is that it's not a one size fits all thing, right? And so it really just depends on what your own personal goals are. Some people love land investing. I have a real estate sister. She does land. And if you're the type of person that knows how to identify, maybe you see what the counties, you go ahead to see what is being planned. For instance, look at the Beltline, right? This Beltline project in Atlanta. Some people knew this Beltline project in Atlanta was happening and quickly started snatching up landed property for less than 50,000 years and years ago. If you're that kind of person that has the capital, to invest in the land, then yeah, go ahead. It's more of, you have more advantage in land if you are a cash buyer, right? Because even if you want to develop the land, right, most of the time they will give you a construction loan only if you own that land through and through. So you're not even going to be able to get it. So if you're buying the land with a mortgage here, mortgage there, you're not probably going to get much out of it. Now, if you're not the kind of person that just has money coming out of your ears, I would say it's better for you to invest in property. And why I say that is, in the same place that you can buy land for, let's say in Atlanta, maybe you want to buy something in like the west side part of Atlanta, and the land there is probably about 100 and maybe 120K, right? You can also get a property on that same street that is dilapidated, nobody is staying there, is boarded up, for maybe 140, right? Now, if you buy something that has some structure on it, then you can do a renovation loan, right? If you're doing a renovation loan, you don't need to own the property outright for you to be able to get a renovation, for you to have somebody to fund that renovation for you. So you can probably get away with just doing 10% down for the property. You get a hard money lender that will loan you the money for doing the reconstruction of the property and all that kind of thing. So if you are ready to do long-term speculation and you have cash sitting down, not doing anything, then go for land. You can go for land. But if you're somebody that you want your money to be working for you, and you don't want your money to just be sitting around hoping that the land is going to appreciate in 10 years, then I would much more prefer that you buy something that has a property in it and that already has some kind of a structure in it. Because to me, what I see as a good deal is, hey, if I want to sell it, I'll find it easy to sell. If I can't sell it, I can rent it. it will be easy to rent. If I can't rent it, last, I will live inside it by myself. So if the property can meet those three criteria, then I feel like it's good. Now, if I buy land, personally, I don't do land. Like I have land, but in fact, I think my husband and I were talking about it maybe a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, this land that we went to go and buy, I don't think it was a good idea.
Yeah, it needs
I am,
developing, right?
I personally I'm not a big fan because I feel like I have a lot of, there's just so much money tied into it. And before you can get its full potential, you have to pour more money into it. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like that one land, I could have probably done like 10 small projects. You know what I mean? So it just depends on your appetite, whether you're the kind of person who you don't have the time and you're just like, you know what, let me just keep this money here, maybe then land can definitely work for you. And some people, like the other lady, I think her name is Taiwo. She's in Atlanta as well. She bought a land and it went up so quickly. I don't even know. She was telling me about it because the somebody on the next lot decided to build this $1 million house over there. So
The
that
value.
jumped, her property.
Mm.
So yes, it's good. So you can be lucky. That's why I said if you know what is coming, maybe you're the kind of person that goes into the county, you can see what approvals that they have done in that area, what is coming soon. You might be able to do that land speculation. There's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely a good way. It's definitely a very, very good way. It's not something that is as easy to monetize or as easy to turn over as if you buy something that at least has a structure on it.
Mm.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, somewhat. So, from a real estate standpoint, at what point do you consider a property now an asset? Not when we talk about wealth, building wealth transfer with real estate. At what point do you think that piece of real estate is wholly, truly an asset without liability?
Without, what do you say? Without land?
Liability.
Oh, without liability. So
Mhm.
I am very partial to real estate. I don't even think that there's a bad, I don't even think, because it might be bad right now, but it's always going to, like, it just depends on the cycle of the market. So for instance, when people were losing their homes during the market crash, right? People are like, oh my goodness, the real estate market has crashed. People are losing their homes. People are losing. Even that time when people are losing their homes, there's some people that did not lose their homes. The reason that you lost your home was at the time was because you did something bad in the financial part, right? If you were able to, by hook or by crook, keep that property and hold on to it, it turned into something great later. You know what I mean? So I don't ever really see real estate um as a liability. It can be an inconvenience sometimes. Like for instance, last year I had a terrible squatter situation, right? The squatter just decided, first of all, the tenant that was in the house stopped paying this and that. We said, okay, we were patient with her. Okay, no problem. Please be going. She finally left, fixed the house, put it on the market. I don't know if it's the same tenant that went to go and call her friends. I don't know what happened. Next thing we know, we fix the house, and then somebody is going to the house to go and show the property, and somebody pulls a gun on the person. It was a very strange situation. So now the person that goes to the property says, oh my God, is there somebody in the house? Somebody just pulled a gun on me. What? Pulled a gun on you? There's not supposed to be anybody in the house, right? Became police situation. This is that. Turned out they were squatters. We had to go through a whole process of getting the going to court and getting eviction and all that. So it took so many months. So at that time, I would look at that property and say, this property is a liability, right? But it just happened at the time. After a few months, I think maybe we got all this thing cleared up in about 4 or 5 months, and then the person was thrown out by the sheriff and this, and we put it back on the market, and now I have a tenant that is paying me. So
That's
it's just one of
good.
those things. There's a
Yes.
risk. There's risk in every single part of business, right? Even if you buy bonds and stock or whatever, it might be at 1% really high now and then it goes low. If you buy Bitcoin, same thing is going to happen. The only difference is that in all the other financial instruments that you can put your money in, you can't live inside them. At least this one I can live inside it. So I always see real estate as an asset. Sometimes I even tell, like maybe when somebody wants to buy a home, sometimes I have some clients, they want to buy a home and then they're struggling because they're thinking, oh, they want to do something like it's a house hack, right? So they want to buy the home, but they also want to rent part of it. And then they're so stuck in the fact that, oh my goodness, the money that they can generate from the home is not going to be able to pay the mortgage and this and that. And I say, hold on, stop. You don't forget that you living in the home is also something, right?
Value.
Like, yeah, it is value. It's also value. So don't discount the value that you are getting from being the owner of that property and having access to that property. So for me, real estate, as long as it's not pulling you down. And another thing I would also say is that I don't believe that you should be working for your real estate portfolio. Your real estate portfolio should be working for you. So
Absolutely.
if you have a property that wants to strangle you and kill you, then you should let go of that property. Somebody had a property. I don't know why she was advised that way. She was trying to buy a rental. I don't understand how, but she ended up buying a home where the mortgage is higher than what she can rent the property for. And I was just like, why? So every single month, she's adding an extra, I think $500 or something ridiculous every month. And I said, this is not an investment. How is this an investment if you're having to come out of your pocket hundreds and hundreds of dollars, to supplement the mortgage? The whole point of an investment is at the very least break even. The investment is not the one that is supposed to be depleting you. You know what I mean? So people see things in different ways. So that's why also when people are trying to go into investment, it's very important to also talk to financial professionals, real estate professionals that are very that know a lot about the money part, the financing part, because that's the thing that can make real estate make you feel like it's not worth it, is when you are now the one that is coming out of pocket, every month for the property. That's not a good situation. So yeah, in that kind of situation, I see that house to the lady as being a liability, so if she could sell it, she should probably sell it, because there was even no reason that they should have bought something like that in the first place.
How about
So
depreciation?
we have to stop now because of time. So it's 1 o'clock on the dot. I know we can go on with questions, but
okay, thank you.
No problem.
Just answer just this one question. At least maybe I can quickly answer. Madam Teresa, please, what were you saying?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just talking about depreciation with real estate.
Yes.
If you can speak to that, how one could.
So depreciation, I would say the best person to talk to with depreciation would be your tax professional, but it is a serious tool that people use in order to save on, their taxes, because real estate is seen as a depreciating asset even when the value is going up. So there's all sorts of ways that your tax consultant is able to help you save on your taxes as you buy properties. So I think that would be a question. Maybe Dr. Namdi can get us a tax professional that can help us with that side of things.
We will try. Well, how can they reach you? I guess I know more people have questions. I know we can. In case anybody wants to reach out to you personally, do you want to put your contacts in the chat since
Okay, so
you've
on
been
on the
doing it?
easiest way to reach me on Instagram, just look for Realtor Dolly. So Realtor RealtorDolly, and then I'll put my number in the chat and my email address if you want it. But thank you for the opportunity. That's my let me put my email address, Realtor Dolly Homes at gmail.com. And if you want this, actually, you don't need, if you want the slides, let me know. I can send you the slides, but if you want.
Yes. All
And do
right.
you
Well,
serve the Atlanta market, or what market do you serve?
So I am licensed all over Georgia, but I have a lot of partners that I work with all over the US. So if you still need me, I can partner with somebody who is in a different state. I had a transaction a couple months ago in New Jersey. I had another one in Houston. So, yeah, so I do all over the country, but of course, I have to partner with the people that are on ground because, as I was explaining earlier today, you have to consider the local market. The local market is different everywhere. You can't just have somebody that is only going to give you the overview. You need to have somebody that's on ground. So I serve Greater Atlanta area. I'm happy to help anybody. And I also serve a lot of out of state people who are buying investment properties in Atlanta.
all right. Awesome. Well, Realtor Dolly, thank you so much as always for delivering an excellent session. This is very instructive. I do have questions, but we have to close. There's plenty of questions to go around, and we can't afford to just have you once every 6 months. So you have to give us more time. Uh, but thank you for all the value you deliver as always. For everyone, the replay for this will go live on Tuesday, so be on the lookout for the replay on. If you're not on our YouTube, please subscribe. If you're not in our community yet, again, please make sure you join. That's how you see what's going on and who's coming up next. We have the sessions every week. Saturday 12 o'clock Eastern time. There's a masterclass series going on different aspects. So tell people about it. Let's keep spreading the word about the work that we are doing at AIM. And if you want to get involved in any other way, whether as an expert, you want to volunteer, you want to donate, please reach out to us. We'd appreciate any kind of support. Helps us continue to do the work that we do. But
How do we
that's
do
all we
that?
have for today. How do we do that? Well, again, I'm on my computer and I'll share these links. But just, I guess, let me put my number in the chat and you can shoot me a text and I'll get you plugged in. So today is a difference, operating differently. But shoot me a text and then I will send you all the ways to get involved, donate, volunteer, all of that. All right. And then Stella put the link to YouTube in the chat as well. So, but African Immigrant Collective, find us on Instagram and everywhere. And somebody's always monitoring all of our channels on social and across the board. So, thank you all so much. I will let you all go now. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Madam Dolly, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. Have a blessed rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.